All right, Mark, we just talked briefly before we start. You want to introduce yourself, Mark? I found you on Instagram.
Yeah, my name is Mark Davis, and I'm running for Congress in Florida's District 16. And we got a grassroots campaign, it's a pretty bold strategy that we have going on. And I'm excited to talk to you about the campaign and
Yeah.
what I'm about and where we're headed. But I don't know how deep you want to get in my introduction here, but if you want to talk about our background later or what, but.
Yeah, I came across your page. Well, I wanted to, I guess, let's just like we're having a conversation, right? I
Mhm.
let me and tell me if you agree with me. I feel like I am an independent right now, right? I feel like we have the Make America White Again, right? White supremacist, white Christian nationalism. A woman needs to make me babies. The man is the big alpha male, and you have there were Democrats, and this is my not you, but the party as a whole. It feels like it's the do nothing Democrats. It feels like every time the Democrats have a chance to do something, they shit the bed, right? Like all of them
Mhm.
voted for Rubio, 10 voted to censure Al Green. They passed the CR twice last year. Cory Booker puts through Charles Kushner. And it just feels like tell me, this is what I want. This is why I got a vibe for you. I feel like we're being played by both sides. Do you agree with that? Or I wanted to start there with you.
I do agree with that 100%. And so just to set the record straight, I'm actually
Yeah.
running as an NPA. I'm no party
Oh,
affiliate.
okay.
Yep. So I'm right there in the independent crew with you. But um, but I definitely am progressive and left leaning, and we intend on caucusing, with the Democrats. Um, but anyway, I yes, I have noticed that, and I think I've been very vocal during my campaign on those specific issues. And I think we're starting to see even the casual um, political observer, the person that is at work all day and doesn't have their finger on the pulse of everything. I think even they have identified that there's a difference between Democrats and establishment Democrats,
Yeah.
right? And you hear that establishment Democrat thrown out quite often, and it's almost like this MAGA light, and they're all funded
I've heard that.
and they're all funded by corporations and they're bought and just like on the right, a
Yeah.
lot of those people are bought and funded by corporations or outside interests. So
Okay.
we gotta get money out of Congress, in my opinion.
Agreed.
One of those first step I think is getting in some grassroots candidates in there.
I wanted to bounce three things off of you because I believe that most people, at least the younger generation, they're sick of both political parties. That's the feeling I get. And I'm going to lump these in. There's three things, but they're all relevant. APAC, like dark money, and uh, this whole thing with I think the thing with APAC has really made a lot of people angry, right? Because for those of you who don't know, APAC is basically an Israeli super PAC. They're giving Republicans and Democrats millions of dollars. And then, of course, they're going to fund Israel. And then there's about 1,100 companies that employ about, what, 20,000 people, about approximately, that send equipment back over to Israel. And then those companies also give money to the Congress on both parties. And then
Yep.
we also have Citizens United. I know that's like those are three different things, Citizens United and APAC, or in the other one, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that as far as do you think that all needs to be gone, or do you like have some variation to that? Because that's been tip, a hot bucket issue for a lot of people that I talk to is they're sick of people getting millions of dollars while everyday people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're tired of it.
Yeah, I frankly don't understand it, and it makes me sick, and that's something that we're going against is all these PACs, with our campaign, and but especially APAC. Something I looked at earlier was like 70%. It was like 70 to 80% of Jewish Americans don't back what Netanyahu is doing right now,
Yeah.
So and people are starting to wake up to it, and especially the younger generation, and they're starting to see
Hmm.
that, hey, Israel has um, uh, single payer healthcare. Israel goes with free college tuition, and we're sending billions and billions of dollars over to Israel, and they
Worse, we're paying for their health care. We can't even get our own.
Right, and but I think people are starting to wake up to that fact with Israel.
Yeah,
So yeah, all that dark money,
yeah.
I think needs to get out of politics for sure.
What do you think about the situation in Gaza? Now we haven't talked before, so I'm just asking, how do you feel about that? 'Cause and I'm asking because these are issues that a lot of people are just like 100% Israel, no matter what they do. They're basically like God status, but they completely ignore Gaza. I wanted to get your take on that because that's important to a lot of voters.
Yeah, I mean Gaza. I've heard a couple of people explain it. It's like Gaza's just like this little kid, right, in the middle of this big conglomerate. And what they did to Israel was awful. They shouldn't have ever attacked Israel. But it was very unfortunate that they did it during the time that they did it, when they had Netanyahu is borderline authoritarian type leader.
Yeah,
And then you have Trump, who is a full-blown authoritarian leader.
it's a fascist.
Fascist. And you put those two together, and that's a recipe for disaster. And that's what happened with Gaza. I mean, that's genocide. And now
Yeah.
they're talking about building Trump towers or something over there, and it just makes me sick.
Why is it the thing that has really irritated, and I'll get back to you, but this is more of the Democratic Party. I feel like nobody has a pair of balls in the Democratic Party except for like a Chris Murphy, an AOC, a Jasmine Crockett. They're sprinkled in there. Like, I don't understand, and you serve this country, and I appreciate your sacrifice. The best man at my wedding was in Iraq for a year. So I've been around military people. I don't understand why everyday citizens have to be in the street in -7 degree weather, day after day, living paycheck to paycheck, getting up at 6 in the morning. Tell me, excuse my language, why in the fuck aren't the Democrats on the streets? Why aren't they in the halls of Congress? Why has nobody been arrested? Why do I feel like the Democrats, it feels like their strategy is vote for me in 11 months? There's nothing I can do because I'm getting really pissed off about it.
Yeah, I've been to meetings, man, and I've wanted to scream within Democrat circles.
Yeah,
And these establishment Democrats will get up on the podium and they'll talk about unity, and they'll talk about peace and reaching out to the other side, and we can't lose voters. And if they keep worrying about pissing off the other side or losing voters, they're not going to have a base to run on. You
yeah,
know, and that's where I kind of came in, I think. And
yeah.
I'm telling people this is what I believe in. These are my core values, and I've actually thought about. I am a Democrat. Okay, when I came to Florida, I came in as an NPA because in Florida it's very easy to see your party affiliation, and I was in business. So I didn't want people to know that I was a Democrat, in business. It just is what it is. And so anyway, I didn't switch over my party affiliation quick enough. So I have to run as NPA instead of a Democrat because in Florida they got like this 365-day rule, whatever. So, but I want to write a book
Hmm.
on and get it published here soon about how to be a Democrat in 2026. You know,
Democrats for dummies.
yeah, like this is how you react to when MAGA says this. These are your core values. This is what you push back on. These
Yeah.
are these are issues that we don't bend on. Um, it's just they don't have a leader right now, and I think they're kind of scrambling for one.
They are. I don't feel like Hakeem Jeffries. I think he's like a team of congressmen that you buy off of eBay. He's an asshat. I mean, I just his anyway. I wanted to go over your stuff on your page about your issues. So your first one was immigration and crime. Let's go over that one first.
Yeah, I mean, so that this is the one that is core to me because I think immigration and crime is what started this chaos 10 years ago. But I don't know about you, but I've always been anti-Trump from the day he came on the scene. I knew he was this con man, and when he came down that escalator and he started screaming about we have immigration problems and we got all these crime problems, like the world was on fire, right? And it was all bullshit. Immigration has been relatively flat for the past 20 years. crime is down like 30% over the past 20 years. So it wasn't this holy shit, the world is on fire moment, but that's what he built his base on, you know? So one of my big focuses are that first off, people just need to be informed of what like the definition of an illegal immigrant is, you know,
Hmm.
because you have people that are going through the system where their green card may have expired, right? That got a letter from the government that said, hold on to this note because
Right.
if a ICE agent stops you, this is your proof that we're working on it, you know? And so anyway, but they just want to get rid of everybody, you know? So
Well, let me ask you about that because I feel like this is a messing an issue for the Democratic Party, right? So what this is, and tell me if I'm wrong here. You guys want people here legally, right? Yeah, yeah, we want law and order. Cool. Then why did you vote for a rapist and a convicted felon? Like, I don't understand. That should be every conversation on every news station, on every journalist, on every podcast. I just don't understand. I mean, what you're saying is right. I completely 100% agree. But I feel like that the Democrats' messaging, they just let it go down and down and down. And they're like, listen, you people voted for a felon. You didn't care about law and order about January 6th. Like, you served this country.
yeah.
Officers died. Four took their own lives the next year. One of them had three children. They're like, hey, as long as he takes care of the brown people, I don't care. Like, is that not a more simple, like, just a, is because
I think, go ahead.
I think it's like WD-40, right? If you have a squeaky hinge and you don't put that WD-40 on the hinge, you didn't cause the squeaky hinge, but you're letting it be squeaky. It's your fault at the same time that you're not pushing back on it.
Yeah, I think that works for some people. I think that works for independents a lot. I think he's losing a lot of independents because of that. I think his core base, though, they don't care. You know, they don't.
You're,
I think
yeah,
I think you know they keep saying you know we'll let that one slide. We'll let that one slide. We'll let that one slide. Now it's to the point where I think they've shown their true colors that I
yeah,
think a lot of them are just pure racist. You know,
they
and
are.
it's a racist agenda, and they just want brown people out, and they don't care
Yes.
what happens.
This is one of the things I talked about. I don't have her book here. Well, that's what my shirt is. My what is it again? My love language is dismantling white supremacy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, and um, yeah, you're right. It's Make America White Again. I did want to ask you about obviously healthcare for all. That is a right, but I wanted to ask you. This is more in the weeds about taxing the rich, right? I want to tax the shit out of the rich, but I think I wanted to ask you what you thought because I haven't found a solution to this, and I want to see if you thought about it. So let's take Walmart because they're the largest employer with 1.7 million people. Okay. Now their CEO makes 495 times the median employee, which is fucking disgusting,
Hmm.
right? Now let's say that we tax Walmart. That's great. Let's say you tax them at 50%, whatever it is. That money goes back to the government, okay? But that doesn't get the people out of poverty because they're still dependent on the government. How do we get that money and force Walmart to pay their people more money? Because if you do that, they have a better quality of life. They're happier. They're putting money back into the economy. You know, what is it like 5 times a year? You want to put the money in the economy. And if you don't give them that money, they're still going to be depending off the government. How do you fix that?
I mean, I think we have to raise the minimum wage, right? I mean, we have to.
That's part of
So,
it.
so I think I've worked for a billionaire. I worked for a company called. Where are you out of? You're out of Pennsylvania, or
California.
you're out of California? Okay. I worked for a company called Menards, and it's out of the Midwest. And there's about three.
Really?
Yeah.
I lived in Plainfield, Indiana. I applied for them. They're a window company.
Oh, you applied for Menards. Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh, wait, yeah. No, I'm thinking of Milgard.
oh, okay.
No,
But
but
yeah,
I know
Southern
what you're talking about.
Indiana.
It's in Indiana. I mean, it's like a Kroger or a Meyer like that, right?
It's like a Lowe's or a Home Depot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but they
yeah,
do also sell like milk and stuff.
yeah. I know yeah, it's like a Myers out there,
Yeah,
Meijer or something like that.
yeah, yeah. But I'm from Indiana too, definitely. Um, but um, but anyway, so I worked for John Menard, and he's a multi-billionaire. Okay, and I worked for him in Wisconsin for 16 years, and but he was the cheapest individual in the world, right? But I mean, he had his family on the board and his family made millions, but to everybody else,
Hmm.
he was cheap, right? My point is that billionaires aren't going to, and I was pretty high up in the company. I was a senior buyer, so I was over all the cabinets and appliances departments for the
Hmm.
entire company, and it was like a $1.3 billion department. And I made okay money, but not like vice president type money, probably where I should have been, you know.
Hmm.
But billionaires, they don't. If you think it's going to trickle down, it doesn't. You know, it goes to family. I think he bought like another two or three homes while I was there. You know,
Sick.
but anyway, so I think you have to put some regulations in place and say, hey, this is the minimum that people need to keep the lights on.
Right.
And, you know, if you guys can't pay that, we're tired of subsidizing you on the back end.
What if, and I'm asking because you're running, if we said if you pay an employee, whether that's the CEO, the owner, whoever it is, over $1 million, you don't get to write that off on your taxes. If you're going to give dividends to your shareholders, you don't get to write that off. But if you pay your people more money, let's say we determine that a living wage is $23 an hour, that the closer you pay them, if you give them a tax break of 2 or 3 to 1, that we will give you that write off. Would that be something that you think would work or that you would be on board with? Because ultimately, we've got to get the money. This is trickle up economics, right? Ronald Reagan was a dumbass, right? He was an idiot. Like nothing trickles down. Rich people are greedy, which is why three people own half the wealth. How do you do that? Do you think that is a viable solution? Because we have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist. I'm not going to pretend like I am an economist. But I'm open to looking at any type of plan or strategy that would put more money into the middle and lower class, you know, and
Yeah,
that's where the core of the economy is. But it's so backwards right now, where, like you said, a CEO making 425 times the median, uh, you know, wage. It's just
stupid.
it's stupid, you know, and there, it's interesting because you start to hear a lot of people screaming or talking about like no more billionaires, and that's an interesting conversation, you know, that that they're just hoarding, you know, and their great grandchildren don't need 15 homes, you know, and
Right,
they made that money off the backs of the American people, you know,
right.
and they took advantages of our tax code to get there, you know, so they deserve to pay their fair share for sure.
How many in your district? I was gonna about where how many people are running for this seat? I saw somebody dropped out. I don't know where the polling is. Can you tell us about that? Because I'm not familiar with that district that you're in too much.
Yeah, yeah. So we just had breaking news where Vern Buchanan, who is the incumbent, just dropped out, and he's been in that seat for about 16 years now, and he was a shoo-in as
You
far
know
as
why?
I don't. He just retired. He's just not going to.
Uh,
Yeah, he retired. So I don't know if I'm sure it was planned out before.
yeah,
But it's interesting. You're starting to see some more and more Republicans retire, speak out against Trump. So we'll
yeah.
see what happens throughout the election here.
Do you know where that district, where does that go as far as percentages? Republican, Democrat, is it like 60-40, 80-20? Is it 50-50? I don't know where that district polls and how many people are running for that seat.
Well, so for the last election, it was a R plus 10. So
That's
uh,
not bad.
it's not bad, not bad. But there, as far as like the breakdown,
Hmm.
it's the least amount percent wise is Democrat, and then the next bucket is NPAs actually are a larger group than the Democrats, and then the largest bucket is Republican by you know a pretty large margin. So.
Do you know where that polling? Do you guys have any polling on this, or is that for this midterms right in November?
Yeah, yeah. We just actually bought a pole, and those things aren't cheap. So
Oh,
we just bought a pole, and we got that thing running right now. So
wow.
yeah.
Is there I did you the other thing you talked about was because you served obviously, what thoughts on gun control?
hmm So it's kind of an interesting subject right now, and my viewpoints. You know, we need common sense gun laws, period. And what we have, especially here in Florida, is the Wild West. You can go and literally conceal a weapon without a permit in Florida, without
I've heard
anything,
that.
you know. I could go and buy a gun right now and go and bring it home and conceal it, So it's kind of the Wild West here in Florida. So
Is
what
there
what
a background check in Florida?
what's that?
Or is there
They
at least a background
they
check?
do about background check.
Okay.
They do a background check. But if you go to like gun shows,
I
they don't
know.
have background checks there. You can just do the swap and anyway, it's just madness. So we do need to fix that. Now, as far as like taking it, I do see a little bit of the other side to that argument too, the right side, as far as violating the Second Amendment. Especially we're seeing this right now,
Yep.
where our federal government is treading on us, and they're shooting us in cold blood in the middle of the street.
Yep.
So and now's maybe not the best time to have the conversation about reducing our Second Amendment rights, because that's scary to see the government have that much control and get away with it.
The tyrannical government.
Hmm.
It's ironic that the tread on me people are so quiet right now, right? Now they're like, "Oh, tread all over me, daddy."
Yeah.
So there was four. I wanted to ask you about this because I'm with you. I'm all, I own a 6 hour 320, right? Like, do I use it? No, it's in there. But like, this is what I don't, and I want to run this by you. So gun storage, right? If you have guns just on the house and your kid uses them and they're not stored up, would you be okay charging them with a felony? Because well regulated, with great power comes great responsibility. What do you think about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that would help a lot. And I used to be a buyer for Menards, like I said, and at one point
Yeah.
I was buying safes, and
Uh,
I wanted the manufacturers to design a safe that had a Bluetooth or a Bluetooth type connection or whatever, and could text you at work if somebody was messing with your safe.
that exists now. Vaultec makes that.
Oh, do they? Oh, nice,
Yep.
nice. Well, that's a big step, but I mean, parents need to be responsible, and they need to know that if they're leaving guns unattended around when children are around or when anybody is around,
Yeah.
that people can die, and they got to take some blame in that for sure.
What about a back like a waiting period or slash background check, even at a show?
Yeah, I hate the loophole for the shows. Like, do we even need the shows? I don't know. And
Yeah.
I'm just not a huge fan of glorification of guns. But I do respect people on the right that
Sure.
that
Well, I think that's really the issue, right? Like well regulated means well regulated, right? An 18-year-old kid that had a bad day at school, they got bullied, runs to a gun show, grabs ammo, and then shoots people the next day. That's not a well regulated militia. Like that's not the purpose of the Second Amendment. I want people to do their legal rights, but at the same time, what irritates me and probably you is they say they're pro-life, but yet over 40,000 people die from gun violence every year, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, well, there's nothing we can do, but if there's one transgender out of our 250,000 in college sports, that's a bridge too far and we have to pass 2,500 laws. That's my problem with the gun thing. I don't understand why, and maybe why is it that the people on the right cannot see both sides of it? It just seems like it's all or it's nothing.
I've always told my right-sided friends that
Yeah.
why don't you guys, if you guys are worried that the left-leaning or the progressives are going to abolish the Second Amendment, why don't you guys take the lead and come up with your own regulations on
Mm,
guns? You
yeah.
guys do it. Because anything at this point is better than nothing. Let's just, if in your perfect world, if we're not going to impede it any further other than what you put in place, what does that look like? And let's start
Yeah.
that conversation there.
I agree. Is there anything else about the race you want to tell? Like, if you were to win and you run, like, what would that look like? What do you think of? Because you would be what quote unquote leader Jeffries. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Hakeem Jeffries over there?
I'm just not a big fan of the passive Democrats that are in office right now.
I
And
agree.
Jeffries just doesn't have that panache that we need, that leadership that we need. And I
Yeah.
think he has a lot of people telling him, "Hey, don't go too far and don't say this," and This isn't a time to listen to all your advisors. Now's the time to
Agreed.
rip open your shirt and show that S under your shirt, because we need somebody that's going to fight back for democracy
Who
here.
do you, if you were to win, who would you want to be? If you were to look at the party right now as it is, who would you want that person to be?
Mm,
Ah, see?
yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. You know what? And I'll probably lose some support for this, but I always liked Nancy Pelosi, and I mean, I,
Well,
I
now she's like 8,000 years old, so she's going
no,
way
I know,
beyond.
I know, I know.
Yeah. And
But
I didn't have an issue with her per se, but it became very clear at the end of her career when I started being involved in politics that she's made a shit ton of money off of her stocks and people followed her stocks. That's what I had a problem with was, and I think you would agree that people, whether you're in
yeah,
Congress
yeah,
or the
yeah,
Senate,
yeah.
you should not have put them in bonds or something or CDs or something like that, so you're not profiting off of it. Just the optics of it look bad, right?
Agreed, agreed. Um, Jasmine, right? I mean, Jasmine's the fighter. She's the one throwing punches.
I agree. How about AOC?
AOC, so we're actually, like I said, we're gonna write a book about like how to be a Democrat, and I actually want to break it down, to when we impeach Trump, we need to also impeach Vance, and then we need to be ready,
Yep.
in the House with a leader that can come in and be president, so hopefully he can take
Yeah.
over the presidency in
Well,
2027.
and I think that's why I like following your page because I don't think that Jeffries is going to do that. I think he's going to do this milk toast BS about kumbaya and make his stupid speeches. And you got Chuck Schumer, who's 8 trillion years old, and endorsing Janet Mills, who's going to be 84 at the end of her term. Pass, thank you. I just don't feel like they have the fight in them to do it. That's why I do you have you talked to the Democratic Party at all, or are you
Oh
even
yeah. Oh yeah.
how is are they telling you certain things or how does it because this is new to me interviewing people that are running for office. How does that work or what does that look like?
So I was really close to the Democrat Party there for a while, and I didn't want to get too close because I didn't want to be like sucked into establishment Democrat type peripheral. Um,
Hmm.
but it's interesting, 60% of my followers across all social media are actually women over the age of 60, which is
Huh,
interesting. Um,
huh.
but with the Democrat Party, maybe it's a little bit unique in Florida. A lot of the older women kind of rejected my message, right? That it's not about reaching out to the other side because, in my opinion, the other side just went full fascist, and you don't reach out to a fascist, right? And it's about setting the tone, and it's not about worrying about capturing Republican voters. It's about energizing the people that you want to vote. Those are the people that you have to.
Yeah. Oops, I forgot my microphone. Sorry.
But they kind of rejected a little bit of that messaging. Um, some of the more establishment Democrats,
Right.
but anyway, the younger ones, the everybody else, and a lot of the older ones too, embraced it, and they were looking for a more powerful type leader,
Yeah.
And but I went to a number of meetings where they preach and preach and preach a more passive approach.
Yeah, how many people are in your race right now? What do you know the number is? How many Democrats or Republicans or independents? Like what's that number look like?
No Republican yet. They haven't announced who the Republican that's going to replace Vern Buchanan is. And then myself, and then there's three other Democrats running.
Do you know where they stand on all this stuff? Like where you are in the polling? I mean, obviously you just said you just bought your first poll. I was just curious where that was. Like, do you know?
Yeah.
Like, is
So
no idea?
so we won't know until we get
Okay.
the poll results back. As far as overall like national popularity, I'm crushing them obviously. We're approaching over 200,000 followers right now.
Oh.
We're getting about 30 million views a month. We have our own podcast called Dad Bods and Bad Attitudes as well. And we kind of we set up that we set up that podcast to kind of interview, other candidates and myself about the campaign.
Yeah.
Um,
You
Go
you
ahead.
said something that I thought was interesting because I actually agree with you. You had said that too many people on the Democratic Party keep wanting to say, "Oh, be more moderate, be more moderate." Like these people voted for a felon and a rapist who was defending men who molested little children who caused an insurrection. I
Hmm.
I don't disagree with you. I think like Harris could have given them $1 million each, and they still wouldn't have voted for her. Right? Let's just be real. And I think you're right. And I think that's what the frustration is that the Democrats and Gavin Newsom's my governor, and
Hmm.
I think he's doing that same crap that you're talking about, interviewing people like Ben Shapiro and who was the convicted felon, the old crypt keeper, Bannon.
Yeah,
Like,
man. Yep.
why are you even talking to them? The man is a felon. I mean,
Yeah.
he can't think that all of a sudden, oh wait, MAGA saw me interviewed Bannon. Now I'm going to get more moderate Republicans. Like, I just think you're right. That whole thing is stupid. Like, you have to call it out. And there was a quote from Martin Luther King, and he said, "A true leader is not a searcher of consensus; they're a molder of consensus." And I feel like a lot of what you're saying is right. These establishment Democrats, they're molders of consensus,
Hmm.
searchers of consensus. They just want to find people that agree with them. Like, oh, I'm going to say this, even though it's not the right thing, because I want to get you to vote me. And people are like, "What are you talking about? That's not what you stand for."
Right. Yeah, we need a lot more of that, and people will react to it, and you're gonna get. Don't worry about the people that already voted, right? Worry about the people that didn't vote, and why didn't they vote? Because they weren't energized. You didn't promise them that you're gonna help their lives, right? You didn't show them a path to how you're gonna help their lives.
Yeah.
So that's what this campaign is about. I don't really
Okay.
care about the millionaires that have the yachts, on the coastal parts of the district. I'll still take their money if they want to send money, obviously. But this is for the people, and we've already had nearly 1,000 donors already, and
Wow.
which is pretty good for a grassroots
Yeah.
campaign. And we're setting up a really big event that's going to come out on April 4th,
Cool.
with LED trucks and a town hall. I made national news the other day. I don't know if you saw that
Ooh.
when
I did not. I don't watch a lot of news because I'm not big. I'm not a big mainstream media. I watch like Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell. That's Nicole Wallace. That's about it.
Yeah, I love all those.
Yep.
I'm the one that bought Nazis.us. I don't know if you heard about that.
That
So,
was. Oh, I did hear about.
yeah.
And you redirected them to the White House or something or
To the
something.
DHS. Yeah.
DHS. Yes. Well, it's interesting you said that because 2 weeks ago I actually interviewed a former member of the parliament at Greenland, and she's like, "Listen, you may not want to hear this because you guys are like Nazi Germany. You got to stop kidding yourselves. You're there. You got
Yeah.
concentration camps. You got brown shirts murdering people in the streets, zip tying people. Like you're there. You guys have got to wake up." So no, you're completely right, and I think we got to stop being afraid to say that that's what this is because that's how Benito Mussolini came to power with this El Papel de Italia.
And
So
I called it out in July of last year, actually. And because I made rounds on the internet again, um, uh, when Ron DeSantis built all those alligator Alcatrazes
oh
here
God,
in Florida.
yep.
I went on live TV while he was doing a press briefing, and he was talking about Hulk Hogan, and I got up and interrupted him on live TV, and I yelled at him. I said, "Is Alligator Alcatraz, is that your effing legacy? You bow down to an effing pedophile? Are you an effing pedophile?" And then I called him a Nazi, and
He is.
yeah,
And
yeah,
see, I think that's what I want. Like, I
right.
think, and listen, I love Michelle Obama. I think she's one of the most incredible speakers I've ever heard. The one thing that I have to push back on her on is when she goes, when they go low, we go high. I think growing up with a bully as a dad, you
Mhm.
have to kick him in the nuts. You got to throw mud in their eye. You have to take him out in the street like Rocky did Tommy Gunn. You have to. You cannot do this with passivity. And that's why, as far as following, I'm like, I like this guy. Like, if every Democrat would do what you do, what Jasmine Crockett does, what Chris Murphy does, we would be in a better situation. We wouldn't have these milk toast team of congressmen that are just given strongly worded letters. That's why I wanted to talk to you because I'm like, that guy's talking my love language there.
Yeah, yeah, we're going right through the chest of MAGA. We're not messing around. But I also actually talked to his name is Jan Berkman,
Hmm.
and he's out of Germany, and he's like a philosopher or a sociologist, but he's a thinking man and he's a historical man. But anyway, he got at first he got on me because I would call them Nazis, and I called them Nazis, quite early, before a lot of people were kind of warming up, which is weird. But anyway, he's like, it's not really historically accurate, and this and that, and I got him on a podcast, and I explained to him, hey, this is. I'm saying it for shock value because people need to wake up,
Yep.
and they need to say, wait a minute, why is this somewhat normal looking guy yelling Nazi on the screen
Yep.
right now? And I'm trying to say because there's a freaking problem, right? And Jan actually ended up agreeing. He said, Mark, I kind of took it back and said, hey, you have one chance at this. You get one chance at this, right? And if you let it go too far, it could be Nazi Germany, you know? So yeah, I think, some of us just recognize patterns a little bit sooner than others did.
Yeah. Are you having any debates or anything coming up with all the candidates, or what do you got between now and the midterms? What do you or debates, or you, like what are you interacting with people? How's that going, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so I just hired a finance guy, and he's going to get us more and more in advertising. He's going to get our ground game up. He's going to get me more and more into calling. With those calling volunteers and donors, we'll set up like house events and stuff like that, and that'll lead to neighborhood events. And then we're hoping to get 3 or 4 offices here in the district, and really make a nice presence. And really, eventually, we'd like to sell out some freaking stadiums here pretty soon.
That'd be
But
cool.
the nice thing about our run here is that I'm going straight to the general election, so I don't have a primary. So
Mm,
I don't have to necessarily interact with the other people that are in the race. So I can just ignore them and kind of use my popularity, right?
yeah.
And kind of run the narrative there, right?
When you
Uh,
guys go to the general, is it just whoever wins the most votes? Because if there's like three Democrats on there and you and a Republican, is it just whoever gets the most votes, or is there a runoff?
there would only be one Democrat, because
Okay.
the Democrats do have a primary, and then whoever wins that primary would go to the general election. Same
Oh,
thing
okay.
with the Republicans. Republicans have a primary, and whoever wins goes to the election. And then there could be an independent candidate, and there can be a NPA, which is a non-party
Oh, okay.
affiliated. But we don't have primaries. We go straight to the general election, so we'll be on the ticket regardless.
So there will be three people, a Republican and you and a Democrat.
Correct.
Oh, that'd be interesting. You'll be running against almost like you. Do you think if it gets to that point, because I was watching your videos or we talked before, like if it gets to the point where it's like you and a Democrat and you guys are like very close and like maybe one person's taking votes at this point, do you see where like maybe the Democrat would drop out and let you just run so they're not losing to the Republicans? Because I got the feeling from talking to you and listening to you, that's kind of where you are. You're like, you just want this fascist crap to stop.
Exactly. And I kind of built my campaign to be the person that I want to vote for. Okay. Because I was tired of seeing weak Democrats up there, and I think that's
Great.
what we have running in our district too. But yes, eventually the idea is that we're going to gain a popularity, continue to gain popularity, hopefully have 1 million followers, not
Mm.
in the short term here, and that it'll just be undeniable that I will be the most likely caucusing with the Democrats.
Cool. Then that
And
hopefully
I will
that
probably
person will
be the
drop
Democrat
out.
nominee. Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? And I mean, obviously, I want to know like if you can donate. I haven't done a lot of interviews with candidates, so
Yeah.
if you want to give me your website, how they can donate, or what follow you, or however they can support you or listen to you, go ahead.
Yeah. Number one, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it was fun.
Great conversation. But anyway, I'm just a pissed off father in the middle of red Florida, and I'm just a normal dude, and I'm tired of this authoritarian bullshit. And we're going straight through the chest of MAGA. I don't think we can have good conversations between the right and the left with this MAGA fat hanging on us. So we just
Yeah,
got to cut it off, right? But you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. I got a pretty large following. We got a pretty cool movement kind of going. Like I said, we're getting about 30 million views a month right now. Um,
wow.
yeah, so we're we're moving. We're asking for some donations too. I always ask for $2 donations because we do have the numbers. If we can just get $2 from everybody,
Hmm.
we could win this race essentially right now. But if you just go to markdavisforcongress.com, you can donate right there.
Okay,
Real easy. So
perfect. All right, buddy. Well, thank you, and
yeah.
we will talk to you soon.
All right. Appreciate it.